Stuart. Mom? Please don't do anything, please. If my parents can pay you anything, please.
An abundance of true crime documentaries around now on numerous platforms. But interestingly, it was, I understand, the Netflix documentary Tiger King that actually provided you with the inspiration to write Strange Harvest. And I was wondering, what was it about that story that you found so creatively compelling?
You know, it wasn't so much the content so much as it was the I guess it just signaled this moment kind of in the culture that true crime had kind of arrived or something, that it was just popular everywhere. And I hadn't really realized that until that moment. I always kind of just thought that I was the only person that was the only weirdo that liked these kind of true crime stories and all these weird stories about murder and mayhem. And it just kind of occurred to me when that documentary came out. It's a great documentary, that just true crime was super popular and that everyone loved it. And that I think my fear had been making something like this, that the language didn't exist for people to understand kind of what I was trying to do. That true crime just wasn't known enough as like a format. And once I saw that, I was like, people will get this now. I think if I try to do something like this, because what I wanted to do with it is I didn't want to do a parody or a farce. I really wanted to do something that was just very, very much trying to be as realistic as possible. And my fear up until that point is just kind of that the language wasn't there. And once I saw that documentary, it just clicked for me that like people would get what I was trying to do, I guess.
Yeah. I think one of the other touching stones away from documentaries is that mockumentary style of movie. And the first thing that came to my mind when I watched Strange Harvest was the Poughkeepsie tapes. Is that something that you'd seen before and maybe was kind of percolating in your back of your mind as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. That was a film that I'd heard in infamy for years before I even got to see it. And then when I finally did,
Yeah.
I love the film. I think it's great. That said, there were things in it that I thought could be improved upon, I guess. So I very much was inspired by Poughkeepsie tapes, and I think I just wanted to do my own version of it, because
Yeah.
I think it was a great idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely it was. And you have experience in the found footage genre yourself, which is obviously part of kind of the mockumentary style of these movies with grave encounters. But obviously, it's quite a different challenge technically. So, what sort of challenges did you face in terms of blending that style with the true crime documentary format?
That's a good question. I mean, in a lot of ways, the approach is similar to found footage in that, you're just trying to capture this feeling of raw reality. It's my North Star for both of those projects really was always just like, how can we make this feel more real? And I think there's a real kind of art form to trying to capture something like in a synthetic setting, like a film set, but trying to make something just feel awkward and janky and bumpy and unfocused with what it's filming. Um, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where I just know when I feel it, I'll start, blocking a scene out and you start moving the camera around and I think that the challenge is always that you're trying to do that while also secretly you're telling your story in a very specific way that's kind of hidden in this janky format that seems like it's so unfocused when it's actually very specific and like nuanced.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and I don't mean to be rude and ignore you, Jesse. It just things seem to be seeking in. We'll get to you in a second, sir. Um, because you're an editor before you obviously chose to step behind the camera and start directing pictures, and these sort of documentaries have a very specific way of being paced, don't they? And I was wondering if your experience as an editor gave you maybe an advantage over somebody that didn't necessarily have that background. Was that the case?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, I've been, cutting my teeth doing commercial editing trailers and promos for almost 15 years. And I think it's just I've gotten good at it and I see things now very much in this kind of hyper editing format, just from my years of working on trailers. When you work on trailers, they really help you break down story structure and figure out all those big beats that are important because in a trailer it's always
Yeah.
about what's the big beat and then what's the turn and all these kind of things. So I think all of those things absolutely informed my ability to tell a story like this and to kind of understand what the rhythm is because with these kind of documentaries it's all editorial. It's all this rhythm that's happening where you're building up and then you have these payoffs and these dips and everything. And yeah, I mean, it was absolutely informed by my years of doing that for sure.
Great. Jesse, um, you play the serial killer called Mr. Shiny, um, who, like a lot of sort of classic sort of cinematic killers, wears a mask, which, kudos to everybody involved in that, was creepy as fuck, by the way. And I was wondering what your first reaction was when they said, "Hi, here you go. You're going to be wearing this." I mean, did it sort of get under your skin a little bit? Because I know it got under mine. And it, did it represent you any technical challenges as an actor? Because obviously the key tool that you have is your face to emote. So it must have been sort of a lot of food for thought before you got into it. No?
Yeah, it was a bit. It was me being involved as Mr. Shiny was kind of an evolution of, I'd been brought on as production designer, and I'd worked on this other film called, to kind of back up a little bit, I had asked once we brought on as production designer, hey, who's doing your makeup effects? I have a background in makeup effects. I don't do it so much anymore. Just interested. And they had Josh Russell Effects, and his team did an amazing job, who I'd worked with on this film called The Vault back in 2017. And in that, it was like I actually played the killer in The Vault as well, and that was because almost through convenience, the writer director Dan Bush was a good friend of mine. I'm almost 7 feet tall, over 6.5 feet tall, so it was just kind of like, hey, why don't you do it? And it lent itself a lot to, as production designer, I'm there every day. I'm on set every day from beginning to end. So it's like, hey, there's a certain amount of convenience of like, hey, go throw the wardrobe on and go peek through the window. Where as opposed to let's schedule the actor, let's get him here, let's do all of that stuff that goes around it. It was really a matter of like, hey, just throw the hoodie on and throw the mask on and creep by in the background. And then in terms of becoming the character itself, I mean, I have background and I'm more of a creature performer, puppeteer. I'm used to more wearing a mask, whereas a lot of other people don't like wearing masks. They were like, oh, you want to see my face? You want to see who I am? And for me, I feel like it's much easier to perform when you're hidden. Even seeing the movie, the final cut of the movie, and there was that much of me without the mask on was even surprising. It's like, well, that's not as scary. Like, show it him with the mask. And then, a third point was kind of, I had designed the mask. We talked about what this was going to be. We wanted it to be unlike anything else. We tried, obviously you've got all of these tropes. The masked killer is something that's been done really, really well and not so well. So kind of trying to come up with something that's different, but also serves the story, the 3 points, the 3 stars. So giving him the 3 point on his face, which was actually influenced by, I saw The Wall, Pink Floyd's The Wall, when I was probably way too young. And when they're marching the children into the meat grinder, they have these masks on. And I remember being so unnerved by that when I was a kid. And it was just like, what is that? Is that a mask? Is that their face? Is that what? And it was just such a weird, it's something that always stuck with me. And then we came to that, and to Stuart, it said, it's really important that we kind of, somewhere in the mask, we integrate the 3 points of the, of the triangle. And it's like, well, what if we just did, simple, the simple sketch that's just the circle with the 2 eyes and the mouth. And it's like, how do we evolve that? So we did a couple, like, it kind of came together pretty quickly. We did a couple iterations of like, I had some stuff in ZBrush that I had done. And then my sculptor, Darren Roberts, did a couple little maquettes. And it was just like, I think it was the second one we did was like, that's it. The simpler, the better. And it's, I'm pretty.
Jesse, I remember you sent me the image of it and I was just like, immediately was like, oh yes, that's really fucked up looking and so off-putting. And it was so unlike any other mask that I've seen for a killer. Yeah, no, it was perfect, and I love the reference, the wall reference. It was great.
Yeah. Well, it's something that especially
no,
kind of serves Mr. Shiny, that it's human, but it's not human. And that's kind of who Mr. Shiny is. He's human, but he's not. So just seeing, two eyes and a mouth shows you human, but it's not human at all.
I was interested. You're saying about influences, Jessee. I think I'm right in saying that the name Mr. Shiny came from a role-playing game, Call of Cthulhu. Was that something that you were made aware of, Jessee? And was there a particular reason why you picked that name for the character?
Well, that was all Stuart. That was all in the script. Mr. Shiny
that was me. I went with that name.
Did I say Jessee? I meant to say Stuart. Apologies.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was like trying to pluck something from more like kind of obscuro Lovecraft land for sure.
But it's an interesting thing, because obviously I did a little research on it and just about the name of it, and I think one of them said the character was like described as horror itself, which I think was pretty apt. I'm excited for other people to see it, because I think they'll be the same as I, getting your skin crawling. So great work, everybody, again on that one. Casting is such a crucial part of any movie. Now, Jessee, you were saying that you were on the sort of production side, and I know this is only your fourth sort of acting role. How was it that you eventually sort of took on that role of Mr. Shiny? Did you need some convincing? I mean, with Stuart, were you kind of actively pursuing him and you thinking you should be great for this?
This was, yeah, like Jessee was kind of saying, his first involvement was as production designer, and then, he kind of proposed the idea to me pretty early on, that he would be interested in playing it. And as he had mentioned, he had done previously this role in the film The Vault, where he plays the masked killer, and he was like, just watch that. So I checked out the film, cool movie, but I was just not sure what to think of it. But then once I saw him in that film, I just went, oh, he can act. He's a performer. He has like an absolute like menace to him. And then it was just a no-brainer. And it was just kind of one of those things where, I don't know, it was just the universe was put us all together,
Yeah, and I wanted to sort of discuss balance as well, because obviously, the movie is grounded in a reality of a criminal investigation, and not obviously giving any spoilers away, there are more supernatural elements that kind of come in the latter stages of the movie. How did you decide on that balance, and was it tricky to get right?
Yeah, I mean, I spend so much time of the film trying to be so real world and so grounded. And so, yeah, it was definitely a challenge of like, how far can you take it? What can you show? What can you not show? And I mean, anyone that's seen Grave Encounters knows I'm the kind of filmmaker that likes to just absolutely show everything in the kitchen sink if I can, just because
Yeah,
I don't know, that's my taste, and it's interesting to me, and sometimes to really go for it. And we don't go for it in the same way as Grave Encounters in this film. It's a much more restrained kind of beast. But that said, I like to show something. I like to not just completely show nothing. So I feel like I give enough little hints of something there. That's interesting. I feel like it's a cop out sometimes when you absolutely just cut away and show nothing, because we've seen that a lot in films, and sometimes it's fun to actually see the thing a little bit. It's cool. And the great thing that's so fun about found footage is kind of this idea where, because the format is often kind of lo-fi and janky, it's like you can show things and see things but not totally see them in pristine, beautiful, sharp, high definition. You can kind of see them in like this, removed way, which helps, I think.
Yeah, it gives you that factor when things pop up. So no, I loved it. So thank you guys. Well, I'm being given the wrap, so that's our time up, which is a shame because I could talk about this for ages. Good luck all involved when the movie comes out, and no spoilers again, but I suspect we might see some more in this universe at some point, given something that happens late on in the movie. So best of luck, chaps, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you in the future.
Nice meeting you.
Cool. Thank you.
Likewise.
Lizzie?